Client onboarding is one of the most important things after a client says yes. And what I'm about to show you in this video is how I onboard and manage clients, all while being able to work on my business and keep clients happy. We're going to cover everything that a client needs, all in one clean and professional Notion workspace. Now, if you'd rather hit the ground running and skip the build entirely, I do have an onboarding package with pre-made client portals that are ready to be customized and handed off to your clients right away. I'll drop that link in the description below. But for now, let's get into it.
All right, let's build out our client portal. So first thing you want to do is sign in or create a Notion account. You can either do this on the web browser or the desktop app. Either one will work. I'm on the desktop app right now. I just think it's a little bit smoother experience. So let's get into it. So in your private workspace section down here, we're just going to hit add new, and we're just going to add an empty database. We'll call this database client portals. This is where all of your clients' portals will live. And we're just going to change the layout of this. So we're going to go to this settings tab and we'll go to layout. And we're actually just going to change it to a gallery view. That way they kind of show up as cards. And then we'll do open pages in full page. That way when we click on them, they show up in the full page. All right, so we'll create our first client portal. I'm just going to name this client 1. First thing I usually do is add a status property. So you can go in here and you can change the statuses to whatever you want. I like to change the last one, and at least the last one, to live shared with client. So that way we know when it is. Then I do also like to add a date property. So we'll just go add property and then we'll go to date, enter. And then this is for, when you're working with clients from a specific date range. Make sure you toggle on this end date area so you can see when they started and when they are ending. If something like a retainer client, then this might not be necessary. All right, so first thing we're going to do is add a quote block. So to add blocks, if you're not familiar with Notion, you can either hit the backslash, just type in what you want, or you can hover over and hit this plus button and the same thing. So we'll add a quote. I like to add just a little welcome message. There we go. Okay. Cool. And you can customize this however you want. This is just a generic welcome message. Underneath our welcome message, we'll add our resources and assets section. So what I'm going to do is just backslash and edit, or just add a heading 2. We'll type resources, and then we'll add heading 2 for assets. Now here we're going to add a couple pages. Typically in my resource section, I have contact information, billing and invoices page. You can also add a contract page, just where you can store your contract, so it's very accessible for both you and the client at all times. So just do backslash page. And under these pages, you can kind of customize them however you want. I like to add callout boxes, and you can change the color of the text and the background color to whatever you want. I typically just add the normal first name, last name, email, phone number, whatever you see fit here. Add our billing and invoices page. Contract page. You can either choose to embed your contract or add your PDF here, or you can just copy and paste your entire contract there. Also I like to add a support and help page here. And I generally fill this with my contact information, how they can reach me, or also Notion contact help. Under our assets section, we're going to do the same thing, but We want things like logos, brand guidelines, images and videos. At least this is a spot where we can store links to those things if the client has them stored elsewhere. Cool. So now we have a resources and assets section. I'm just going to highlight these 4 blocks, and then I'm just going to drag them over to the side here, move these up here, just so it looks a little bit cleaner. We can even add a little divider here for a nice look. Cool. So underneath our resources and assets section, we'll add our project database. So all we're going to do is type in data, and we want this top one, this database inline. We'll name it projects, and then I'm going to add 2 project placeholders for now. So just project 1, project 2. And we're actually going to change this view. So if we go over to our settings, we'll go to layout. I'm going to do a gallery view again. Again, you can change these however you see fit, but I think the gallery just looks the best on the layout. So now we have our 2 projects. We're going to add one more view to this project's database here, that being a timeline view. And I'll show you how to navigate this later. But yeah, if you just press that plus button next to the gallery view, you click timeline, and you can kind of name it whatever you want. We could just name it timeline for now. That way, when the projects are populated with dates, you'll be able to see them here and just flip-flop between the views. I'm actually going to rename this gallery view to all projects. And you can also change the icon if you just click on the little square next to it. Cool. So we're going to leave this for now. We'll come back to this. We'll add properties and develop the cards, these cards a little bit more. But for now, underneath our projects database, we will do a meetings database. So again, we want another inline database. I'm just going to name this one meetings. And first thing I want to do is again change the view. So we're going to do a list view. And we'll add a couple pages in here. So this is where I typically store, like if you have monthly one-on-ones or if you have strategy sessions, team meetings, whatever they may be, you can store them all here. Now, when you go into your meetings, we're going to add a couple things. So first we'll add an attendee property. So we go to add property, we'll click person. We'll change the name to attendees. And then as you tag people or invite people into this Notion portal, they'll show up here and you can just add them into the property. All right, so obviously we do want a date property in here so we can understand when the meetings happened. We can include the time as well. We'll add a created by property, so who's the person that created the meeting. Again, you can tag those people. We will add a meeting type. So I like to do, for this one, I like to do a select property and just fill out a couple different options. So if we go to edit property, down here you can go to add options. Yeah, you can do Google Meets, Teams, Zoom, whatever it may be, right? And you can change the colors and customize this however you want. But that's what I typically add for meetings. In every meeting, I do like to add a calendar view as well. So calendar, and we'll link it to our meetings database. There we go. So that way, when you do create your meetings, it does populates on the calendar. We can also add that view here. So if you go to the plus sign next to meetings, let's add a calendar view. And we'll just name this one calendar. And you can see that it pops up. Something else I like to add with our meetings database is adding the assignees or attendees rather, so we can see them here. So what we'll do is we'll go to our settings tab, we'll go to property visibility, And then we're just going to unhide attendees. You can also choose to unhide the dates as well if you want. But I think attendees is enough. If you have multiple people, they'll all show up here on the right side. You can change the icons as well to any of these, however you see fit. Change the colors. Yeah. All right, so that's pretty much it for our meetings database. Next, and most importantly, is our task database. So this is going to be at the very bottom. We'll add another inline database. Name this one tasks. And I'll just create a couple placeholder tasks for now. Okay, so I've just added a couple placeholder tasks here just to get started. The next thing we're going to do is add some properties. So to do this, we're actually just going to change the name of this one, just call it task name. The next property we want to add to do this is you just click on add property. We definitely want a status. So to edit this, you can just go click on this and then edit property. And you can change whatever you want in here. If you want like a yellow, whatever you see fit. Next, we do want an assignee property. So we go to properties and then we pick our person property. Then up here, I'm just going to rename this assignee. We do need a due date property. So we'll add date. Change that to due. We'll add a project property. So for this one, we want to do a relation. So if you click on relation, we want to relate this to the specific database. So these two things connect. So we'll relate this to our projects database here. And we're going to turn on two-way relation. You can call this tasks. So what this does is essentially, and you'll see after, it makes the tasks show up within the related project. So if we tag the project here, they will show up in that project database up above. So let's say we'll just tag a couple for each project. Cool. And then we're going to add two more here. We'll do a completed date. So we want to know when the project and task have been completed. Just name that one completed. And then you can add a delay date if you want. Sometimes projects do get delayed, so it's good to understand how long those get delayed. Cool. So now we have a generic task database. We're going to add a couple different views here, so it's easier to view for both you and the client. First thing we're going to do is we'll add a Kanban board view or just a board view. So go up here and you click add new view. We'll add board. We'll just name this one board. Now you can see what hasn't been started, what's in progress, and what's done for all the tasks in your database. We're actually going to rename this table view. We'll just name it all tasks. And I'm going to change the icon. All right. Next, we want to add a project view. So we want to be able to filter all these tasks by the specific project. So add view. This is actually going to be another table view. And we'll call this one projects. And then once we're here, we want to go to group by projects. And then you can see that it's laid out all the tasks by projects. This is the view that I typically have as a default on my client portals. It's just laid out much easier, and the clients love being able to come in here and see what's happening on this project and what's in store for the next. So that's pretty much our task database. Again, all this is customizable, everything down to the icons for each task. But this is typically the properties that you should create that'll make you the most efficient for your clients in managing the projects. So if we go back up to our projects database here, we'll click on project one. You can see that our tasks from project one that we just created are now associated with project one. But we're actually going to clean this up a bit, and we will add some more properties to our projects. So first thing I want to do is, if you hover over the top here, you see customize layout. You can also find this if you go to the three dots, and it's right down here underneath table of contents. So we'll go customize layout. And what we want to do is move this task section to its own group. So we'll click on this property group here. We go over to the right side, hit tasks, and then we'll hit add to layout. And you can see that it's separated between a property group and a task group. This looks good, so we're just going to apply this to all pages. Now we go back and we can see that it's separated. Now this is good, but we would like to see who is assigned to the tasks and when they're due, just from this view here. So what we're going to do is just hover over this top task section, and you'll see the three dots on the right side. We'll click those, and you can see the fields that are hidden within this view. So we're going to unhide assignee, status, and due. Now these aren't filled out yet, but say, let's just add some dates. People, you can see that it shows up here. It's nice and clean. You can see the status of it when it's due and who's it being done by. Now, the properties that we want to add within our projects are typically, we obviously want a status. We do want to understand, and the client does want to understand when the status of the project is. You can leave the default statuses if you want. We do want an owner. So if there's multiple people in this client portal, you can tag them here. Do we have our dates? Yep, we do have our dates. So we'll want to make sure we toggle on end date so we can have the date range. Something like that. Another property we want to add is a completion rate property. So this one shows the completion rate of the tasks within the project. So if we go to add property, this one's actually a roll-up property. We're going to rename this to completion. We'll change our relation to tasks. We'll go target property. We want status. And then we're calculating the percent group of complete. And then the last thing we want to do is show this as a bar. And you can change the color to wherever you want. Let's do blue. Now you can see at the top here, it's 0%, but when we go and change the task to done, it auto-populates to 25%. So that's a pretty cool way to see how far the project has come and how much of it is left. What else? So lastly, within each project, you can actually only do this once. So we're going to actually create a template. So anything that's down here, when we create this template, we'll just name it template. Anything that's down here will pre-populate if you choose to click on the template. A couple things that I like to add for each project, at least at the beginning, is an about this project section. And I typically add a little summary here of the project that's discussed with the client. If there are things within your projects that are specific every single time, like video modules, you can choose to do an embed. Oh, that's Google Maps. If you create flowcharts or anything, you can choose to embed a Miro board, things like that. But you want to add these things to the template that are happening and very repetitive within your projects, just to make it easier for you. We'll come out of here. Now, when you go to create a new project every single time, if you click down here on template, it will auto-populate your template. So that makes it a little bit easier rather than trying to just duplicate each project in your portal. All right, so one more thing we're going to add to the bottom of our projects is a view of our board view of our task database. So we'll go data, we want inline, and we're actually going to link this to tasks. Now you can see this is the granular task database here, but we actually only want to filter for this project. And there we go. Now I'll just change the view, layout, and board. That way we can see what's happening within the project itself. You can add things to these. So if we go property visibility, see due dates. We don't need status. You can see you can add delay if there's a delay, the assignee. So the stuff will populate here. And that's pretty much it for projects. You typically will add your deliverables within each task down below. So if there are specific things that are repetitive for each task, you can templatize each task as well. Now, something I like to do for projects, if we go back to our just client portal view here and we view projects, we go to property visibility and we unhide completion. We can now see the completion rate for each project down below here, which is nice for the client because they can just go in, view the portal, scroll down, and just see how far we are on the project and how far we are with the tasks within the project. You can customize each of these cards as well. So if you go into your project and at the top here, you can add an icon, you can add a cover. So if there's specific project covers, and then if we click out, we can go, we go to settings, go to our layout view, and now we can adjust the card preview. Let's say we want to preview the cover and preview there. You can also preview properties or the page content. So all this is very customizable. You can personalize it to your client. You can also add a cover to the top of their portal if you want to add their brand cover on there, an icon, and things like that. But yeah, that is the foundation of your client portal. Now to share this with a client, all you're going to do is just go up to this top share button here. You'll type in their email. And you can choose to give them full access, can comment, or can view. I typically do give them full access. That way they're able to come in here 24/7, see what's going on. They can comment on tasks and projects. You can tag them and they can reply within the client portal. They can answer your questions within each task if that's the case. So it's good to give them access to this. Now, when you are sharing your client portal, you want to make sure that you're only sharing their specific portal page. So if we go back out to our client portals database, this is where all of these will live. So what you can do is just say you get another client, you just duplicate the portal, customize it to that client, and then you would only share this page, right? So this is the page that you want to keep to yourself, and only share their actual portal. But that's it, guys. I hope this video helped you. I've gotten a lot of positive feedback on client portals and how they affect client management and client relationships. So pretty much every client I've had has been really happy having one of these and happy with the level of efficiency and organization. So I hope this helps you, and let me know your feedback in the comments below. But that's it for the video. Thanks for watching.